Hi everyone. In this second tutorial, we're going to look at how Flask can be used to output HTML. Now, after every tutorial, I am going to publish a branch on my GitHub. So to start this tutorial off, I've created a branch called Lesson 2 Output HTML, and you'll find that on my GitHub. Right, so obviously a web server can be used to output HTML content. Let's just do it at a very simple level. You can see currently we've got app.root /, which is our home directory. Right here, I'm going to change this to HTML. I'm just going to say login. I'm going to put login inside h1 tags. I'm going to do the same with register. Register, I'm going to put also inside h1 tags. So now I'm actually delivering HTML content. And if I run my server, I'll be able to go to my web browser, press enter, and you'll see that I've now got login in h1 tags. And if I type in register, I've got register in h1 tags. And if I do an inspect of that element, you'll see the h1 and h2 tags there. All right, h1 tags there. Right. So you can see that I can return HTML content, but obviously it's not very feasible for us to be returning a whole web page in this section here. So there is an easier way. Flask employs a templating system. And for that templating system to work, all you need is a folder called templates. And inside that folder, you can have HTML files. So what I'd like you to do is, if you're using my template, you can just click on this folder. But if you haven't, you're going to have to create a templates folder. And it must be spelled templates or lowercase. And inside that template file, we're going to create two files. One is going to be login.html. And another file we are going to create is register.html. So now I've got these two files. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create two pages there. And I feel like the easiest way for this is to just get some code maybe from W3 Schools. I could type in HTML code, but for many students, you might not be fluent in HTML codes. So I'm going to go to W3 Schools, which is essentially the Bible for web development. I mean, you could use ChatGPT if you wanted to, but I'm just going to type in W3 Schools, HTML forms, and that should come up with the content I want. And you'll see that a HTML form is essentially something that includes input, and we're going to want that later on. So I'm going to select the code here, and I'm actually, for the moment, I'm just going to select all of it. So if you go try it yourself, you can put it in. I mean, if you want to type this out, by all means, pause the video and type it all out. But I think it's easier if you just get it from elsewhere. What we're going to do is we are going to change this a little bit. For the moment, I want you to get rid of the action. We'll talk about actions later on. And currently we've got first name and last name. Because it's going to be a login page, I'm going to change the heading. I'm going to call it login. And where I've got first name, I'm actually going to change that to email. And I'll change the label name to email. The type, the input type is going to be email. There are a number of different input types with W3 Schools. Again, if you look up W3 Schools input types, you'll note that there are a whole lot of different types of inputs. So for us, the type email will essentially look for an @ symbol. And we're going to change the ID to email. we're going to change the name to email, and the value we are going to clear. I don't want anything inside the input box. Then for the label, for the last name, I'm going to call it email, and I'm going to change it from last name. I am going to change it to password because this is a login page. I feel like the user should log in with an email and a password. For the ID of the input tag, I'm going to call that password. For the name of the input tag, I'm going to call that password. And for the value, I'm going to leave it blank. The other thing you might like to do is just type in required. Required is just a way of ensuring the user has entered something in, because if they don't enter something in, you really want to create an error for them. And then we've got our submit button. So I would like you to pause the video and get the code looking like it is at the moment. And then we can actually get rid of that paragraph tag, the paragraph information, we can get rid of that. So let's just get rid of all that information there. Right, and we're actually going to copy that, and we're going to do the same with the register page. So essentially we're creating two HTML pages. One is login and one is register. With our register, we are going to have a password, and we are also going to have a password confirm. And again, I just realized I should have been consistent here. I did make a mistake on my login page. This one is password confirm. I'm going to create the ID being password confirm. The name is password confirm. The more consistent you are, the easier it will be to code. So you'll have to take my word on that. So email, password, password confirm. And really, we should probably get their actual name. So let's actually get their actual name. I might just get that code by here again, because there was first name and last name. So let's just get that. I'm actually going to get that there. So I'm creating a register page here, and I'll show you what it looks like in a second. But I am sorry that I'm going so fast. You probably will need to pause the video at the moment and get the code looking like I have. All right, so first name, last name, email, password, password confirm. Just want to make sure that the names are consistent. Make sure that the type is correct. For password, we need to change the type to a password field by making letters from the user. Right, so now we have two pages. We have register and we have login. Sorry, I zoomed out. I've got two pages here. Again, you might need to just play around with the code. Right, and now we're going to use Flask to load up these pages, and it's quite a simple exercise. So inside Flask, all we need to do is, instead of returning a string, all we're going to do is we're going to return a function called render template. And what that does is it gets all the code, the HTML code, from a HTML file and returns it at that URL. So for us, we're going to return the login.html page. For the register page, we are going to return the HTML page. And now let's run it. And I don't know if I have to restart my server. I suppose I'll find out in a second. I just need to go localhost 5000. So you can see it's loaded up the login page. So at the roots of my URL is loaded up the login page. And if I've done things correctly, if I go register, it'll load up the register page. Now you can see there's a lot of errors here. I need to clean up my code a little bit. So I'm going to go to the register page. I realized that I actually need to have BR tags for line breaks, and I need to get rid of these values. I don't want to put anything inside the values. And the other thing you might like to do is do required, because that way the user has to type in something. It's just a simple form of validation. So we've got BR. Right, let's have a look at that page and see how it looks now. All right, so we've got a basic register page and a basic login page. Right, the other thing we can do with Flask is we can actually send variables to the page. So just to show you what I mean by that, where we've got this render template function, the render template function allows us to send data to the page. To do so, all we need to do is put a comma, and then we can create whatever variable name we want. So I might actually just type in, for the moment, I might type in a variable called message, and I'm going to say it's equal to please log in. Obviously, I wouldn't need to do this, but it's important that you know that it's possible, and we will be using this later on. On the register page, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to create a variable called message, and here I'm just going to say, please register. So I'm creating a variable, and I'm giving it a value, and I'm passing it into the render template function. So when the page loads up, I can get that variable. Now, to do so, to collect the variable using in Flask, we go to the HTML page itself, and inside the page, we can choose where we want to put that variable. To do so, to put the variable in the page, let's just say I go h3, and I use 3 curly braces. Actually, no, 2 curly braces. And here I'm just going to put in message. That's 2 curly braces. And that just gets the value of the message variable, puts it into the page. I'm going to do the same on the register page. On the register page, I have this message, and the message variable will get passed into the page. Obviously, we're doing this at a very simple level, but we will be using this more later on, especially when it comes to getting the results from a database. Okay, let's have a look at our app. I'm going to go to my home page. You can see that please log in has now been passed to my login page. And if I go to my register page, please register has been passed to my register page. So I'm now able to pass variables into my page, and I could pass those variables however many times I wanted to. So there's nothing to stop me from doing it again and again and again. All that's going to happen is that it will just keep passing them into my page, because we're not going to put that into the page. But it was important that you understand that it can be done. Right, we're going to stop the tutorial there. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for listening.